Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Tonight we are discussing getting organized, and I have the great pleasure of hosting my friend and my professional organizer, Ulli Schilling. If you're not familiar with Whole You or Whole You community events, this is a time for us to get together and talk about topics that would help us live a balanced, purposeful life. So it's kind of a mixed bag of topics that we discuss. The format of tonight is that I'm doing this intro and then I'm going to pass it off to Ulli. But before we get started, I would love if anybody would like to unmute and introduce themselves, say their name, and then as it's appropriate, the organizing problem that you might be experiencing. So my name is Shannon O'Brien. For those of you who don't know me, my organizing problem was that I had stacks and stacks of paperwork. Ulli can attest to this. This is actually one of the main reasons that I reached out to her in the first place, is that I'm obsessed with Staples, the store, the superstore, buying files and folders and papers. I don't know what it is, but I was just obsessed with paperwork. And then I also run my own business and I have to keep all these files. So that was my main organizing problem. Maybe a lot of you can relate to that as well. But does anyone else want to unmute and introduce yourselves and talk about your organizing dilemmas before we get started with Ulli?
So I'm a little bit of an anomaly because I'm actually really organized. And I don't know if you're going to touch on this, but it's getting my partner on the same page. And maybe not even necessarily on the same page, but some tips on how to communicate one's kind of, desire to be organized and maybe what I could actually let go of in terms of my organization. So I know I'm kind of unusual, but thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sure Ulli can speak to seeing when partners are on opposite pages. Maybe one is sloppy and one is really neat, or how do you get someone on the same page? That's a really great question. I'd like to say a few things about my friend Ulli before I hand it over to her. This is Ulli. She's here with us with her lovely plants in the background. But this is her in my apartment with my little one, London. She's great with children, and that was really special to have her in my home and also helping with London. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner the lovely way that she organized London's clothes. And you can imagine that I was nesting, trying to get ready for London. And when she arrived, had so many toys and clothes to organize, and Ulli helped me with that. On the top left-hand corner, you can see that I smushed all of these books and papers into a closet. I don't know if you're like that. If you open up a closet and you're like, there's where all my junk is stored. Well, we addressed that, we tackled that. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, again, I don't know if you relate to this, but just piles and piles of Tupperware and plastic stuff. And she helped us sort, put lids on each one and get rid of. That was the pile of Tupperware that we could eventually get rid of. Not only is she extremely talented and just has a gift for this, you'll hear that she is from Germany, and Germans are known for being very precise. And she's also a Virgo. If you're into that, Virgos are known for being very neat and tidy as well. But I have to say and speak from my heart that Ulli has been the MVP of my last year. There was water damage in my condo, and she helped me to move out and also now helping me to move in addition to all of the work that we did together, organizing my house, nesting, as I said, arranging clothes and papers. I really don't know what I would have done without her. So it's a gift for me to be able to share her knowledge and expertise with you tonight. And I hope that you can take away some value as well and implement it into your own life. I share Ulli with everybody that I meet, including my mother. The picture in the top right-hand corner is her garage. And we did this project in my parents' house in Cape Cod. So she's a secret weapon that I'm very happy to share with all of you. So I'll hand it over to Ulli now. Ulli, do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to become a professional organizer and have all of the skills that you do have?
So hi everybody, how are you guys doing? So my name is Ulrike, but everybody's calling me Ulli. And so I was born in East Berlin in Germany and started a carpentry apprenticeship right after high school. I always was very handy and wanted to do things, that I can build and use later. So once I finished my apprenticeship, worked a little bit in that field, I hopped on the plane and ended up in Boston and started working for a family. And part of the program is you have to go to school. So I decided to go to RISD, go on top of my carpentry to learn a little bit more about interior design. So when I finished with RISD, I worked really short at IKEA as a builder. I think that was 2008 with the little crisis we had over here. There wasn't too many jobs. And as a finished carpenter, I was a little bit overqualified to put IKEA furniture together, but I was happy to have a job, and really helps me a lot right now. Everybody has IKEA furniture. So if anybody has problems, I always know how to fix it, or if there's more parts I can still purchase at IKEA. So it really helps clients even now. After IKEA, I started working in a different family as a nanny, watched their 3 children while I started going to Curry College to obtain my degree in business management. The family realized really soon that I can do more than just, drive the kids around. And I started organizing a lot in their house, in the kitchen, like anywhere what would help me during the day to find things better, all the sports equipment for the kids, in the garage, in the basement. Later turned my nanny position into a house manager position. So I was more in charge of making sure this 15,000 square feet house stays on top of the things. I had, in the end, we were 3 nannies. There was 2 housekeepers, and 3 vehicles. So I was running this whole thing to make sure everything stays organized. And then I decided to go into the professional organizing direction, where I have different clients. So there's all the way from hoarders to regular people, you and me, who just need a little bit of help, to very wealthy clients who really just want their stuff, like everything has to be perfect. And where I teach their staff how to fold things in this neat way. So everything is always on point.
So we thought we would do a bit of an agenda for you today. We want to make this relevant to you. We want to make sure that you get something out of it. And something that Ulli and I did together last week, we just happened upon it, and we would love for you to participate. We're going to start with an exercise, and this is organizing our wallets. So if you have your wallet nearby, grab it, or if you have to go and get it, feel free. But I know that I had looked through my wallet, and we went through in sequence, so we're going to do this exercise together. But I had a whole bunch of extra stuff that I needed to address, and so we'll do that now. So we'll start with an exercise, and then we're also going to transition into 3 topics that we think are going to be very relevant for each one of us. The first one is your desktop, and this is not your computer desktop. It's not digital organizing, although that is definitely something to focus on as well, and maybe we could do a future meeting on it. But your desktop or your work space, and this is very important now that most of us are working from home. The second topic we're going to be discussing that probably relates to all of us is having a junk drawer, the infamous junk drawer, and how to address that. And then the third topic we're going to discuss is our refrigerator. Ulli, how about you start us off with this exercise, the wallet?
I think it really helps on a daily basis to know that at least your wallet is organized, and it's such a small little thing. It shouldn't take that long, even if you have to do it like once a week. So mine is pretty much organized all the time. I usually start with people taking out your cash money. So mine is all straight. A lot of people's money looks like this in the wallet. You can't see what it is. You don't know which one is what. So the first thing is, let's uncrumble your cash, make it all straight. If you have the big wallet where they fit this way, it's nice to have them all sorted. Usually I go by the small dollar bills and then go with the numbers higher into the back in an order. So it's not like a $5 between a $20 and then a $1 is all over the place. And the same with the coins. I usually keep only a couple coins in my wallet just because they're heavy. And I don't like my wallet to get all bulgy. If there's coins in it, it would be completely out of shape at some point. So I unload my coins every 2 weeks, put them in the piggy bank or whatever your usual ritual is. So if you guys straighten up your money, the next thing would be to take your receipts. Take all your receipts out. Depending on why you're keeping them, I usually divide them by things that need to be returned. They should go with the item that needs to be returned. If it's other receipts that you need for like accounting purposes or just keeping them for your record, they could stay at home. They don't need to walk around in your wallet every day. And the only receipt that I keep in my wallet is the wonderful CVS coupons that are about 2 miles long. But I usually, when I get them in the same day or week, I cut out whoever I want to keep. So mine's is usually just the extra bucks. The other stuff usually never applies to me. So they go in the recycle bin. So that way I don't have a wallet full of receipts. So the next thing we can do is your loyalty cards. So loyalty cards I call, Stop and Shop, Shaw's, Starbucks, any of those cards where you obtain points. I don't know how many people still use them. A lot of times you have your phone number attached to it, so you don't even need the card anymore in your wallet. So that's one way to get rid of things that take up room. Like I don't have my CVS card with me anymore. I just use the phone number. Starbucks, nobody needs to walk around with the cards. Like they can stay at home. They're really obsolete at this point. So I flip my wallet around. I have one side for all the loyalty cards on one side together, or at least cards that are not credit cards. And then I have all my credit cards on the opposite side, on the side where my money is. It's like I'm dividing my wallet into two little departments. I know some people keep credit cards at home. They don't bring them because they use them too much. It's really a preference. I guess they teach us in Germany not to use the cards, even though we have them. There's really no reason to have business cards in your wallet. I would put them right in your phone or keep at least the little card holders at home.
Can I ask a question about that, Ulli? For me, I am, like, as I said, one of my problems or organizing problems was the paper and just like something about getting so much paper and also, running a small business. I have these business cards in my wallet. Like if I go to the car repair person or a chiropractor, I am in the habit of just grabbing their business card. I know that there are apps that you can kind of take a picture. Do you recommend something like that, or just putting them aside and entering the data into my phone or my computer? What would I do with these?
It's the same like the grocery list, it's usually never with you. I mean, yes, your wallet is with you most of the time, but if for whatever reason you didn't bring your wallet, those business cards are now not with you. So if you put it in your phone, nobody leaves the house without a phone anymore. So once it's in your phone, you can use the app to put the business card in. They used to scan it, but you can also just manually put it into your address book so you have the people handy. No reason to keep the business card once it's in your digital filing system, but it just takes up stuff like things in your wallet. It doesn't have to be that heavy. Like I started to be extra minimalistic because I've had back problems. So I figured whatever I can take out of my wallet to make it lighter. The phones are heavy, the keys I can eliminate. There's certain things that have to be in somebody's purse, but I don't need to walk around with a stack of business cards. And then I don't know what else anybody has in their wallet, but there shouldn't be anything else anymore. The rest is probably all just junk or little notepad. Some people have their fortune cookie notes saved, when you just left the restaurant. That's fine, small little knickknacks, but not all those receipts. They're just in your way most of the time when you're looking for stuff. And if you have, like, this is one thing I like, if you have the compartments, like I would realize if I look at this, I'm missing a card. My card is not in its wallet. So that's one way. If you have a designated home or space for, like, this is my debit card. So if that slot is empty, I know my debit card is not in my wallet. That means I can freak out and either trace my steps and figure out where I left it, but I know which card is missing because it has a designated spot, especially with the ID. There used to be times when you have to give your ID to, if you do a return at a store, and if I leave the store and I look in my wallet and my ID is not in there, like I know which slot it is. It's my ID is missing. So it helps overall to have a designated spot in your wallet for specific cards.
How often do you recommend going into your wallet and doing this process? Because I know that you and I doing it last week together, now I look in my wallet and it's so pretty. I know where everything is. I can just go in and there's no questions. And then like if all those receipts were jumping out at me, they stress me out. So obviously that's one of the main outcomes of organizing, is to know where things are and have order. But how often would you recommend people looking in their wallet to do?
I do it once a week, just because that's when things accumulate during the week, when I have receipts from clients, or I meet somebody new with a business card, or I went a lot of shopping. I have to take my things out. I get checks. So, there's stuff that's coming during the week. With the pandemic, it's less. If you haven't really left your house and you're working from home, probably in 1 week, nothing is going to happen to your wallet. But it really depends on your lifestyle, how much you accumulate in 1 week. And every 2 weeks definitely can't hurt, just to be on top of, filing your things away. Then the smaller the pile is, the faster you're going to get done. Same like laundry, people wait until they have no clothes left. So I try to explain, if you have a smaller laundry pile, it doesn't take all day. So the smaller the project, the faster you're done. So for all the gift cards, I have an extra wallet that is just for gift cards. This is cards that I got for birthdays, or, friends gave me cards. So instead of them clogging up my wallet on a daily basis, I have an extra little pouch. And before the pandemic, it used to be in my car all the time, because I wouldn't use those at home. There's not online shopping cards. Those are gift cards for specific stores that you would use in that store. So it usually is in my glove compartment or somewhere in my car where I find it safe. Not out where everybody can see it, but it's with me on the go. I would bring them with me in the car or in the purse to use them up before they expire.
Wonderful. This was a fun hands-on exercise. The other topics that we're discussing, we don't expect you to go to your fridge now, so take notes for later. Shall we transition to the first topic of your desktop or workspace? So a good question here to help Ulli lead this topic as well. Does anyone want to share whether they are now confined to a work from home situation where they weren't before? Does anyone want to talk about how their, desktop or workspace has shifted since the pandemic?
So I started working from home in March, and my office is also my living room. So my couch is right behind me. And because of that, my desk also serves as our entertainment center. So I've basically got a TV behind my laptop and a dual screen monitor, and then a keyboard in front of that and a printer to the right, in this very small sort of 4-foot space, which is not ideal. I'm sort of looking around like, blah. And I actually went to Home Depot today because I'm actively working on trying to change this for myself, because it's definitely a little overwhelming.
We have a lot of clients who working in offices and now both working from home in loft apartments without desk areas, and not realizing when they got married that one of them is very loud. So we have a lot of people who are struggling to find separate areas to be able to do 8 hours of work without listening to the entire conversation the other one's having for work. It's been a struggle. A lot of people have moved because of that reason.
In the question and answer section, we can add that too, in terms of, to go with Julia's question that she posed at the beginning, when you're living with your partner, if he or she is, working from home as well, and you have to kind of share that. I mean, maybe that could wait for the Q&A section, or also be discussed here when we're talking about workspaces and sharing workspaces. And that also gets into time management, but if you could touch upon that as well.
So we want to start with the desktop, with the desk organizing. So the first essential for your work area at this point is to really keep it minimal. I try to not have anything on my desk but my laptop, maybe a pad and a pen if I had to jot down notes, but there's nothing else. There's no trinkets, no picture frames, no flowers. There's nothing that's distracting me from doing my work. other than, you know, having a clean workspace. So everything else that I could be needing, like a stapler, a hole puncher, paper clips, binders, tape, anything that you would need for your work, I have in drawers underneath. I must say I picked my apartment to make sure I have a built-in desk with drawers, which, you know, not everybody can do, but when you live an organized life, you look out for those things. And before I didn't have the built-in desk, I had my own desk, but I made sure I have drawers to hide all those things. Just because in a small space, you don't want to see all your work stuff during the day. And those things they're cluttery, you know, there's stuff over here, everything gets dusty. So the emptier your desk is, the easier it's to clean up too. Like just wipe it down after you're done if you spill something accidentally. So if there's not too much on the surface, your work gets done way faster. The next thing that I try to eliminate is all the messy cables. People with desktops where, you know, especially you have to have two screens, there's a lot of wires, there's the computer wires, there's a lamp, there's a fan. The best is to try to eliminate all the stuff that does not need to be on the desk and start fresh. Like once you want to fix your cable mess, you really have to start from scratch. The best thing is to unplug everything and then put things in the order where they're on the table or on your desk, and then run the cables behind and try to hide them as best as possible with, you know, clips to hide them together, because that can, you know, it's a distraction. You're working and you're looking at all this cable, it will distract you. So if there's a possibility to hide those, that would be perfect. So for everybody who's working at home, I say, even if you're lucky and you have a desk area or an office, still try to clean it up every day. Like as if you were leaving work, you know, put your things away, put your personal items away, you know, close your desktop, turn it off if you can, file your papers away. If there's a lot of, you know, paper that is accumulating during the day, try to organize them where they're supposed to go, at least make neat and nice piles, you know, put your pencils away, close the pencils, all that stuff. So you understand there's an end to your workday, you know. Your workspace might be right next to your kitchen and you start cooking and you're still looking at all your work stuff. It will affect you. You feel like you never left work. Hide stuff if you can. Put it in a bin, close the door. Worst case, cover it up with something so you don't have to see it. Just so mentally you're not looking at the stuff. If you think about it, it's also a nicer start. When you start the next morning, you have a clean surface. You know, you're not thinking about maybe the bad day you had the day before. It's all forgotten, it's cleaned up, it's put away. So you have a fresh start the next day with a nice clean surface.
I really love that idea of a bin, you know, especially if you're sharing space, take your little bin, put it in a cupboard, put it away, and have that as the ritual to end your workday and begin your personal life and hopefully relaxation as well. Now we will transition to the infamous junk drawer. Show of hands or chat in the box, do you have a junk drawer? Or are all of your drawers junky?
How many junk drawers?
Yeah, that's the real question. Type in the chat box, how many junk drawers do you have?
There's a difference between a kitchen junk drawer and a bathroom junk drawer.
So Ulli, you were saying that the objective here, and we have an objective with all of these different sections of our home or apartment, objective for the junk drawer is actually not to have one. Tell us more about that.
It's real estate you could use for something more important. And most of the stuff that's end up in the junk drawer is just not put in its right place. So if your house or your home is moderately organized, all those things have a different home. Like if you look at this picture, there's stamps, there's receipts, there's hair ties, there's pen and pencils. All that stuff is in multiple places in everybody's apartment or house. So a lot of those things can be put away. You know, it's just a drawer where everything ends up because nobody wanted to go the extra steps to put it in the right place. So if you can, first of all, in order to fix this, everything has to come out. Everything has to come out of the junk drawer. Clean it out. Think about it. What would be a good thing to live in there? You know, right now, a lot of people have mask and hand sanitizer added to their routines. And nobody had a drawer or a space for that before. Now that it's part of our lives, people are looking for a space where to put it. So if your junk drawer is near your entrance or in your kitchen, close to where you're leaving the house, it's a good idea to use that, to repurpose that drawer for masks and hand sanitizer. If it's in the bathroom, it's probably not a good spot. But no matter where it is, there should be something else that makes more sense for this drawer. Maybe your kitchen towels never had a room, never had space, or all your drawers could use a little bit less stuff, and you just use one more drawer for kitchen items, you know, space things out a little bit so you can see them better. But in a perfect world, all those items don't need to be in the store together. They have no relations to each other than they didn't get put away. So once you take everything out, we just sort, you know, the likes with likes, like all the paper stuff, all the stamps and little notes, and people keep their notes that came on flowers and all that stuff that can all go together and figure out what to do with it at some later point. Pencils can go in the office or, you know, kids' room, wherever there's a homework area. Hair ties can go back in the bathroom. Wherever people keep those things, there's no need for them to be in a junk drawer. And then when I usually repurpose this drawer, the next step would be measuring it. Measure the drawer, and then I figure out what kind of dividers I might use, but I need to know what's going to live in there. So if it's masks and hand sanitizer and maybe keys, then I wouldn't need too many dividers. The masks usually just lay on top of each other. The hand sanitizers could be small ones. They could have a small divider to put them in, and keys could be in a dish or a divider if that's some item that would go in that drawer. In the great scheme, there's no need for a junk drawer whatsoever.
I'm going to transition to refrigerator. We've probably all seen these pictures on Instagram or the internet of these beautiful rainbow color-coded fruit, color-coordinated fruit. Again, show of hands, if your refrigerator looks like this, maybe you should be helping co-host this webinar, but most of our fridges don't look like this. But
mine doesn't look like this either.
Tell us more about your concept and how you organize your own fridge and also the fridge of your clients.
The majority of people's refrigerators are too small. Like no matter what, they're too small. People either shop too much or they are made too small, or the items that you purchase are too big. That's how I started, you know, buying less and less, just so, because I'd like to see what I have. The picture is beautiful. I know a lot of famous people. We've done refrigerators like that where we have all the bins and everything is color coordinated, but it's literally somebody's job to keep this up every day of the week. Normal people don't have staff to just keep your fridge color coordinated. Even when I was a house manager, I had 7 refrigerators that I was in charge of. I wouldn't have time to unload all those things into each of those bins. It looks very nice, but in reality, your food will go to waste before you finish eating it. It's not sustainable. The only thing I say it's nice, I have the egg divider that looks pretty. I can see faster how many eggs I have left instead of keeping them in the original packaging. But the rest of the bins is literally just for looks. And if you have nothing else to do but organize your blueberries on a daily basis. So I only recommend to have a couple dividers. So you can divide, let's say, dairy products from meat products. You have like the little juice boxes is nice for kids so they can grab them themselves if you have a little bin for them to reach. But in general, it doesn't really work to have all those dividers. But again, if you wanna organize your fridge, it goes the same like the junk drawer. You have to take everything out. Everybody got to come out. You wipe down your shelves, and then you organize your categories. You know, so to the point where it makes sense. Some people like all their breakfast items together on one shelf so they can see them quick. I personally have my dairy things together. I have my fruits in one area, and I have things that I would cook with in one area, and then always keep some room for leftovers or for takeout, because a lot of times there will be stuff that needs a home that you might not think about once you start. So after you take everything out, if you want to go with those dividers, you have to start measuring. It's really, there's so many different options. There's so many containers. You would have to start measuring and pick your bins, and then you can start loading things into those categories. It's a lot of work. So what I've realized is the best thing is also to, when you go shopping, to first check what's in your fridge. Like, don't go shopping. It's like, oh yeah, I have to go on every Saturday. I go shopping. I go grocery shopping. And people just run out the door and buy whatever they buy all the time. And they never check what's already or what's still in the fridge. It's all the way in the back or in the freezer. It's like piles on top of each other. Many years ago, because I was in charge of 7 refrigerators, we started making grocery lists, and they were shared with each other on the phones. So whenever anybody, let's say on the 3rd floor, is running out of milk, they would add it to the grocery list. So I've taught this to a lot of even small households, when it's just, you know, you and your husband or you and your wife. If everybody's on that same grocery list and you're sharing it with each other, you're pretty much on top of what's going on. Just somebody has to be in charge of deleting it when you're going to the store, and then adding it when you finish it. A lot of times the husbands forget to add, you know, they don't take the empty container out of the fridge in the first place, and then they forget to add it to the list. But, you know, it's one way to be a little bit less wasteful is when you have a digital list on your phone, and then you use that one to go shopping. You literally buy what's on your list and not what you think that you need, because you don't know. What I usually do is I add during the week, 7 days in a row, I add stuff to my grocery list. And then depending on how big the emergency is, I will go shopping for those items that are on my list. That way I have a little bit less waste. I don't over shop. I don't buy stuff that I still have because it's not on my list. The other thing that works pretty well is when you plan your meals according to what's in your fridge. Instead of saying, oh, I'm just going to cook this and that today, but I don't have any of the ingredients, so I have to go shopping and buy that stuff. During the pandemic, I made it one of my goals because I was stuck at home for a while. It's like, let me see how many months it'll take me to finish all the food that's already in my house, and what kind of meals can I make out of it. Instead of, you know, I try to avoid going to the grocery store because that was like the one place where everybody went. So there's a couple apps you can use. I think Supercook is pretty good. Epicurious works very well, where you can literally type in the ingredients that you have in your fridge and in your pantry, and then it spits out a couple options for recipes. You know, it's something to do if you're trying to be less wasteful and use up the food that you already have instead of just chopping everything new. I helped one of my neighbors organize her fridge the other day. I was just watching her child and then ended up in her fridge because I couldn't help it. She was literally just going to the grocery store and it's like, Ulli, can you watch the child? I was like, yeah, sure. So while I'm watching, I watched the fridge too. And she came with all her groceries and then tried to shove them into the fridge, and it was not working. I'm like, there's no room for it. So again, we took everything out and I categorized all the same stuff. So we ended up finding out that she has 14 packages of turkey meatballs for her 2-year-old. Definitely probably a couple too many. And she didn't know. She had no idea because there were some in the freezer, some in the fridge, you know, so things were all over the place and she had no idea. Like, she really didn't have to go shopping after we organized everything. She had like 5 packages of French fries and 4 jars of garlic, minced garlic. And she had no idea because it was all in different places. That was a perfect example again for, she had no idea how terrible it was and how much she's over shopping, because she never took the time to take everything out of the fridge and put all the same things in the same category, in the same shelf. It's a single mom with a 3-year-old, you know, 2.5-year-old. I'm like, who's using 15 salad dressings? But she didn't know because they were all scattered throughout the fridge. So the best thing is if you have things organized, you'll save money and you're not looking for stuff forever. You know, if you have things categorized. So that's the whole goal, just to have it easier to find things and not to waste so much money.
Great transition into something we do in every meeting is have a mindful moment. When you hear 14 salad dressings and all of that garlic paste, you might be, I'm getting a moment of like, oh gosh, yeah, I have, 10 of those and 20 of those. Let's take a mindful moment to forgive ourselves for accumulating these extra stuff, but also to envision what you want your space to look like. So whether it's your fridge or your junk drawer or your desktop and your workspace, know that more peace of mind is possible And so just to take a rest, give yourself permission and forgiveness for, maybe getting into a somewhat junky or disorganized place. Ulli had mentioned that one of the hardest things for her clients is where to start, how to get started. And something that we do in these meetings as well is offer a challenge of the month. And I'll offer this to each of you. You've probably done this before, but organizing and cleaning just one drawer, just one drawer. Maybe it's a sock drawer. That's a really easy one. Throwing away old socks, getting rid of the excess. Ulli said that, oftentimes people are like, oh, I'm going to give it to a friend. I'm saving it for a friend. But spare that friend of giving them your junk and just consider donating it, or you're trying to avoid it going to a landfill, and trying to recycle it. But that's the challenge of the month, to help you feel empowered and know where to get started. Ulli had also suggested that maybe starting with your foyer or your entryway, and the last place that you leave before you exit your home, maybe focusing on that area so that you feel empowered and not overwhelmed. We didn't want to overwhelm you with information, but hope you feel empowered. And so now we'll transition into our Q&A. If you have any questions, I'll ask Callie to read any of the questions from the chat box and continue to keep those coming. But let's start off with Julia's question, which was, if you are on a different page from your partner, husband, wife, roommate, even, if you have a different mindset or idea of what a place or a dwelling should look like, I'm sure you see lots of these examples, Ulli. What would you recommend to Julia and others?
So the easy thing is, when that happens to me, I'm already being hired. So I'm already coming into somebody's home. So I will be the bad person or the one helping to, work with your husband or significant other. And most of them are usually on board because they're trying to keep the peace in the house. And because I am not you, they will listen to me differently. Like, you don't have to start an argument over this, and usually I joke around, and it's most of the guys that are not the organized ones. I do have some clients where the man is the organized one and the woman is like a hot mess. But it's easy when you have a third party involved, just so it doesn't come from you. And you probably have to let go of some, like, there's no way somebody's going to be as organized as you or feels the same way about it. So you have to understand them, but there's systems you can put in place, slowly. It's like, oh, why can't we put things on hangers or closed doors? Really, you have to go step by step. It's like you're trying to teach somebody after, a rough 30 years, new tricks, and they've never done it. So it's really hard to change it now. What helps too a lot of times is when I come, it's a terrible way, but the incentive on how much money people pay for this, there's usually a time where things stay in place because the husbands are like, oh my God. A lot of times there's clients where they say, oh, I can do this myself. We don't need to hire somebody. I'm like, all right, you start. Call me when you get stuck. And then when they realize how much work it is to keep things neat and nice, they appreciate it a little bit more. Like, we do this a lot of time with kids too. When I have teenagers like 12, 13 years old, they've never had to clean up their rooms. Now, all of a sudden, mom decided she doesn't want to do it anymore. She hires me. We do it together. And, after 3 hours, the kids are pooped. They're like, oh my God, this is so much work. They will keep things neat longer because they know how much work and how much energy it took to get to that point. So the best way is always, get them on board to helping you. Don't just organize and then expect somebody else to respect it. It just doesn't work. It's the same how somebody else pays for something from you and you're like, whatever, it doesn't have the same effect. So working on it together, and then really you have to be patient. It's going to take time for them to get on board. But I have also there's a lot of husbands where like, oh my God, this is so nice. I can find my things. All my socks are folded. I can, it'll be faster to get dressed. Somebody just have to show them the positive part of this.
Yes, so those are some good tips. Did that help, Julia? Anything else as a follow-up?
Yeah, no, I mean, so just ironically today, there was some light at the end of the tunnel when he said, it would be nice to get an organizer for my belts, which have just been
Yeah.
sort of sitting in this space that was, every time I went in there, I was like, so yeah, I think that it does come, it might just come more slowly. So thank you for that reminder.
No, but you can start with small things, and then use it as like, oh, remember your belts, how this was like so unorganized. And, that's how it starts. Usually a lot of people get on board with it once you start, They have to see how it affects them positively. Either it looks nice, it functions better, or they can find their things faster. That's usually what happens.
Thank you.
I had seen a comment from Ashley in the comments about clothing in general. And, if you have closets are a difficult space for a lot of people, maybe you have a recommendation about belts and how best to store those, whether it is an organizer, if you have another tip. But closet is another big category that we could have focused on. Do you have any high level tips on closets?
Closets is a big project. Like, people usually hope that, in like 2 hours I can fix their whole closet. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work like that. You have to do the beginning is every time purge any excess stuff that you're not wearing, things that are from college. They should be in a memorabilia box. Like your hoodie from college does not have to be in your actual closet if you're not wearing it. If it's just memorabilia, it needs to be separated. And in your closet should really be just the clothes that you're wearing. Right now it's different. People are not leaving their homes, but in a general setting, people are rushing no matter what. You're rushing to go to work, you're rushing to go to the soccer practice, you're rushing to go to an event. So the less things that are in your face cluttering your vision, the better. So I had people who have Halloween costumes in your regular clothing. It shouldn't be there, because every time you try to get dressed, you're looking at your Halloween costume. So that should be in a separate box. Like, anything that has nothing to do with your work clothes shouldn't be interfering with you trying to make a decision. And then again, everything has to have a home. Your socks should all be together. Your underwear should be together. If you're still wearing belts, there should be a way to either hang them or you roll them up in a drawer. It really depends. Like, everybody's closet is different. Some people are fortunate and have a big California closet. Other people living in 3 different rooms because one closet has a long hanging space, so all the longer dresses fit. I've had people where we categorize and say, okay, let's do this guest room is all your vacation clothing. Like, when you go to Florida, you have all the summer clothes, all the summer shoes, all the beach bags, all in one closet, But it's really very specific to each client how to fix their problem, what they're dealing with.
I have one question, which I'm guessing I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask anyway. As we are in COVID, I still have my work clothes in my closet, like my skirts and my dresses and the things that I pretty much never wear unless I feel like, I don't know, treating myself and like dressing up for dinner at my house. Would you recommend temporarily at least removing all of that clothing out of my closet if I'm almost never wearing it? It'd probably have to go in a bin in my basement, but.
Yeah. The thing is, like, a lot of times where I am at, things go in the basement, they don't ever come back.
Yeah.
It's like, once it's in the basement, it could have also went to Goodwill. Nobody knows how long this is going to go. You can make fun and just dress in your work clothes while you're working from home, just so you're working, you're in work mode, you feel like, I feel like sometimes when you dress a certain way, you feel different about yourself. So if you want to feel more like I'm working, put your work clothes on, but it's not enough to put them away. And then what would you do with the empty space?
Yeah, I mean, I just like wouldn't have stuff in there. It probably just feel less.
No. And the problem is, once you have an empty spot, you're going to put something in there that doesn't belong there. Somebody else will. So I've had nobody getting rid of stuff. People shrunk down their amount of work clothes that they have, but before already, because everybody's now casual, so there's less dress suits, and for the guys there's less suits and ties. So people have gotten rid of this stuff in general, but I've had nobody requesting to get rid of their work clothes because they're working from home. And even if you stay working from home, like I have clients, what happened to them, they move to have a better office space. Nobody's really worried about the clothing as much as they want to make sure. Like, a lot of people now tend to having a very well desk chair because you're sitting a lot of more hours. in your home, and people are sitting on their kitchen chairs on their sofa and starting to have back problems. So people are spending more money on proper desks and proper chairs, and making your workplace more functional than worrying about what's happening to your clothes that you're not wearing anymore.
Right.
So.
A follow-up question, Ashley, like, could you could say, oh, I haven't worn that in a long time. I don't know, Ulli, what do you think about this? Just taking maybe a couple outfits, putting them in a bag or a box, kind of putting them in purgatory. Because I don't know what your closet looks like, but if it's all bunched up and you can't find everything, I know that after Ulli works with a client that there looks like space, it looks like breathing room. So you kind of know what's in there. If it's all kind of clogged and junked up, could you maybe take out a couple culprits that are just like junking up your closet and you haven't been wearing them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I sort of focus on are like the like sequin skirt that I really love, but don't wear, like hardly ever wear. And instead, I guess, like I've got a pile of things like sweatshirts or like zip ups that I tend to fold and sort of put to the left, but it's behind the section of the doors so I rarely ever see them, and I'm like pulling them out and I don't know what's in there. So I'd probably transition those onto hangers, I guess, if I were gonna remove them.
Yeah, but your hoodies and sweaters, depending on what they are, like if they're nice cashmere sweaters, they don't do so well on hangers over time.
Yeah, they're not.
I fold those. So I don't know if you can switch your doors, if you can move all the doors to the side of the hanging side, so that side is more closed. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to hang your home clothes on hangers.
Well, speaking of hangers, that's actually Tom's question in the chat. He says, is it better to hang clothes or fold and put in drawers? And maybe that is depending on what the item is, if it's a cashmere sweater or what it is, but what's the general thought behind hanging versus folding?
The first rule is, what do you prefer to do? I have clients who refuse to fold clothes, so we put as much as we can on hangers, just because they do not like to fold. If you don't care either or, there are certain things like a lot of people's jeans and pants we put on hangers just because they look nicer. When you look for a certain pair, it's easier to unfold them. I have people where I file fold all their t-shirts with prints on it, the Marie Kondo way, where I can see, like I file fold them and I can see the print, so they can pick out that specific t-shirt. But that means you need to know how to fold in a pretty good way. I have people who hang all their t-shirts on hangers just because they want to go like in the store, look for the same one, and they do not like to fold. But it's really a personal preference. And then again, how much room do you have? Many closets have more room for hangers than for folding. So again, it's like a very specific question to your closet and how you prefer to do things.
Yes, personal preference. Well, thank you, everybody. I want to respect your time, but if you want to get in contact with Ulli, please do so. If you need a ninja, Ulli is my secret weapon and has been so helpful this past year since I've known her. And here is her contact information. You can reach out to her directly via text or email or her new Instagram. I am the Organized Ninja. And of course, you can reach out to me if you know my contact information. I can introduce you or answer any questions and tell you more about Ulli, but she's truly been life-changing. I can't even describe how much she has been helpful to me and my family over the past year. So I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. I hope that you gained some useful, valuable information to apply to your own homes. If you are interested in attending future events, we're going to have a monthly event, a monthly community event for Whole You every month, where we can network and talk about topics that will help us live a balanced, purposeful life. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening and your week ahead. Thank you again.
Thank you.